Welcome. Hey, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Gnostic Studies, and we're going to continue with our Gnostic Astrology series. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments area. Before we jump into today's material, we're going to review the previous class. And so in the previous class, we studied Weor course on Zodiac, his astrological course or Zodiacal course. He reminded us of those two streams or two currents of energy, the heavenly current that comes from above and the earthly current that comes from below, and how they meet together in Virgo, which is related with the belly. That energy is prepared before it ascends. It's the end of the ascending earthly energy that begins in the feet, the calves, the knees, the thighs, the sexual organs, the kidneys, and probably the intestines, and then now in the belly, stomach, that area before it's passed to the heavenly energy, which descends from above. And where it ends, where the heavenly energy ends, is in the heart, Leo, the previous sign that we just finished studying. So he mentions that our organism is a laboratory where we can mix these two currents or streams of energy mixed together. But now we're beginning with the earthly or terrestrial currents that come from below as we enter into Virgo. And he said that we can think of these currents something like the Masonic square and compass, or the six-pointed star. He says it's an inverted square because it's a right angle, and it's inverted because the energy is coming up. In the center of this Masonic symbol, as well as this one, we find the initial G, the letter G, which he says corresponds to the word generation. And sometimes in Masonry, they talk about the quintessence, the celestial quintessence, the heavenly five essence, right? And that's why they use the five-pointed star, because quint is related with five. And sometimes this is called the central fire of nature. And in this case, the G symbolizes generation, but specifically the generation of bodies. What does that mean? The creation of the solar bodies that we've mentioned before, transmutation of the creative energy. So the Seal of Solomon, or the six-pointed star with two equilateral triangles intersecting, is the way we represent the union of matter and spirit. And now what we want to do is spiritualize matter. And in order to do that, we need to mix it with the heavenly currents, the currents that come from above and terminate in the heart, so to speak. But Virgo, the planet of Virgo, is Mercury. And he talked about how it is related with the belly or the abdomen. And although it doesn't correspond to the kidneys, it corresponds to the adrenal glands, which are on the kidneys. The symbol of the planet Mercury is a moon on top of a sun, and then a cross. And the cross, he says, is the cross of matter. The symbol of Mercury is very interesting. It has the symbol of the moon, the astral current on top, the symbol of the sun, the heart in the middle, and the cross or matter below. The adrenal glands are located on the superior part of the kidneys and secrete adrenaline, or what's now sometimes called epinephrine. And so we want to prepare that current that comes from below. He says, when the heavenly current is prepared, what is received, it is prepared in the chest. The preparation of the terrestrial current is realized in the abdomen. He said the most spiritual organs are those located in the chest and the brain, while the most material are in the abdomen and the extremities. And then he compared Virgo with Scorpio, the sign of Virgo with Scorpio, where Virgo's got a line that comes back, Scorpio's got a line that goes out, an arrow that points out. In the East, he said there's exercises for gathering the current from below, and that's why almost all positions in yoga are done with bent legs or squatting. Thus, he says those are materialistic practices. They're just working with the lunar current. But the solar current are the ones that are able to be gathered through the rose cross exercises, such as those given in the Zodiacal course, and by standing upright. And he also referred to the runic exercises, which are other body postures that can be done with mantras. He says upright postures. The practice for Virgo, the practices or the exercises for Virgo, have been preserved in certain dances of the East, especially in so-called belly dancing, which was even used in initiatic temples. But the key has been lost, right? The key of transmutation, of white tantra. Now, all our previous practices, from the head to the heart, were in the line, the descending line, and they had a psychic effect. Now, the practices from below, from the terrestrial current, have the opposite effect. They have a physical effect. And it's precisely in the fire of the heart that the amalgamation or mixture of the physical and the psychic or psychological are achieved. And just like the heart has its manifestation in the chest, as a spiritual exponent, the solar plexus has its manifestation in the abdomen. So he recommended that we lay down on our backs to do this practice. It's a practice that you do in bed. You lay down on your back and you jump your abdomen. What does that mean? It's like you squeeze in your abs, trying to pull them towards your back, trying to touch the kidneys or the adrenal glands, and then you let them jump back out. And he recommends doing it laying down. So bring it in and then let it jump back out. And another thing we already know because of Gnosis is that we can vocalize the vowel U. So that's kind of a summary of what we talked about in the previous class. Now we'll jump into today's material. Today we're continuing to study Virgo, but this time with the book, The Zodiacal Course by Samael and Weor, written about 20 years after Weor course. It says, Beloved disciple, Today we fully enter into the constellation of Virgo, house of Mercury, and exile of Venus. The ancient sages divided the zodiacal belt into 10 signs, since Virgo through Scorpio were esoterically considered one single sign. Virgo, the sign of the celestial virgin, and Scorpio, the sign of the sexual forces, together are really that marvelous Eden that the Bible talks to us about. It is the paradise of virginal human beings. This is the paradise of the perfect androgyny. This is the Eden that the Bible talks to us about. Eden is sex itself. Come unto us all those who thirst, and we shall give thee the eternal water of life to drink. Come unto us all ye weary pilgrims of life, and we shall heal thy wounds. Children of the earth, listen to thy instructors, the children of the fire. In this delightful garden of Virgo and Scorpio, the 7 serpents of fire are awaiting in order to initiate thee into the greater mysteries. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Knock, and it shall be opened. Look, my child, here is the seal of the heart. To those who visit our white island, we shall give thee 3 glasses to drink, 3 delicious arcana. Right? Arcana is like a secret. One is as green as the emerald. It is the sexual force of the Virgin Mother, Isis, nature. The other is as blue as the sky. It is the sexual force of the kingdom of the Spirit. And the last is like the dew of the leaves in the night. It is the sexual force of the Absolute, the Ineffable. Only to those who have thirst shall we give these 3 arcana of Eden, so that they may awaken their 7 sacred serpents. Those who drink from our 3 glasses will never thirst again, and rivers of pure water will flow. It will flow from their bellies. Why do the natives of Virgo suffer? Why do they cry? Why are they not happy in love? All sins shall be forgiven except the sins against the Holy Spirit. The natives of Virgo suffer because they commit adultery and fornication, and they committed it in past lives as well. Thus they also suffer great amorous deceptions, right? Deceptions in love. In Virgo, Mercury becomes reasoning. Subjective reason is of the animal soul. The animal soul is the mind. The mind is the cave of desire. One cannot kill desire without taking it out of its cave, out of its den. The majority of human beings who currently populate the face of the earth only possess subjective rationalism. They still have not developed objective reason in themselves. It is good for you to understand that subjective reason has sensorial data as its foundation, right? Subjective reasoning comes from the senses, the 5 senses. It processes the concepts of its content with the data provided by the senses. It is urgent for you to understand that objective reason has the data of the consciousness as its foundation. Subjective reason is much too poor. It is completely trapped in the 5 senses. Mr. Immanuel Kant, the philosopher of Königsberg, has already demonstrated that subjective reason can know nothing about God and about the truth. If one's rationalism is based on data provided by the senses, then clearly one has to move within the orbit of the senses and one could never get out of that orbit. If someone wants to know something more, if someone tries to know what the truth is, if anyone wants to know the mysteries of life and death, and what is beyond the three-dimensional region of Euclid, then clearly they will have to develop objective reason in their inner psychic constitution. Imagine a tranquil lake. If you were to throw a stone into that lake, then you would see a series of waves coming from the center to the shore. Compare this same concept with what happens to the mind. All of a sudden, you see a pornographic image. That image passes from the senses, right, through the eyes, through the sound, if it's a video, to the lake of your mind, and the latter then reacts with its waves before the external impact. Its waves then knock strongly on your sexual organs, producing sexual excitement that is consumed in copulation. Subdue the senses and dominate the mind so that you will not react before external impacts. The den of the beast of desire is in the mind. The great intellectuals are terribly passionate, vicious, and fornicating beings. They have developed the mind, and that mind is the animal soul. The great intellectuals have the animal soul, the material mind, very well developed and very robust. Those who do not have objective reason are exclusively machines, automatic machines, automatons, who are responsible for assimilating, transforming, and retransmitting planetary energies into the interior layers of the earth. So this is part of the reason Gnosis is so important, because until we awaken our consciousness, the purpose we serve in nature is simply to transform energies that come from the cosmos, to digest them, transform them, and send them into the earth. The purpose of Gnosis is to teach us about this, and that we have the choice, the opportunity to stop being simply a vehicle of nature, to learn how to work with those cosmic energies, those cosmic currents or streams of cosmic energy, and that we can transmute our creative energy and become different, a different being who's not chained to the earth, so to speak. Whosoever already possesses objective reason escapes from this law, the law that they just have to transform energy for the earth, and in fact converts themselves into sacred individuals. Objective reason bases its functions on the data provided by the essence, by the consciousness. When we move under the direction of the material mind or the animal soul in the physical world, then we create problems for ourselves. We stay imprisoned, suffering the inexpressible. The person who acts only under hunches, right? Hunches are like, oh, I have a hunch that this is not a good idea, or I have a hunch this is a good idea. That's intuition. The person who acts only under hunches is happy. They will never lack bread, shelter, and refuge. They will never have problems. Evil is so fine in the world of the mind. Evil is so delicate and subtle in the plane of cosmic understanding that a lot of intuition is necessary, is needed, in order to not be cheated by the demons of the mental world. In the mental world, there are adepts of darkness, black magicians who disguise themselves as adepts of the white fraternity, as Mahatmas, etc. They present themselves before us in the internal worlds in order to tell us that we have fallen, that we have failed in our longing for the light, and that we have lost the degrees that we had acquired, etc. These black magicians have a sublime appearance and an exquisite spiritual culture. When they speak only of love, light, truth, and justice. They appear as ineffable beings, and we only discover that they are black magicians when they advise us, in a very fine and delicate tone, to have an orgasm, a spasm, to ejaculate, to spill the cup of Hermes, etc. All these brothers of darkness who advise orgasm hate the Christic force. Therefore, if the disciple slips on this banana peel, then he or she inevitably falls into the abyss. The mind is, then, the most dangerous animal for the alchemist. Virgo rules over the belly. Right? Remember that Mercury is related with the mind, which is why we just talked about the mind. And the house of Mercury is Virgo. Virgo rules the belly. The forces that rise from the earth, when arriving at the belly, are charged with adrenal hormones, which prepare and purify them for their ascent to the heart. Virgo also works on the islets of Langerhausen, which secretes insulin, so necessary for the treatment of diabetes. Trying to figure out if I went into airplane mode here. My computer's being funny. Sorry, I don't know if you guys lost me there. Let me back it up a little bit. So, Virgo rules over the belly. The forces that rise from the earth when arriving at the belly are charged with adrenal hormones, which prepare and purify them for their ascent to the heart. Virgo also works on the islets of Langerhausen, which secrete insulin, so necessary for the treatment of diabetes. In the Zodiacal course of Master Weor, right, that's the one we read last week, we're taught that during this sign, we should give small jumps to the belly, so that the energies that rise from the earth will be charged in the belly with adrenal hormones. Right? That's why we squeeze the belly, trying to touch the hormone, the adrenals. He says one should be in a lying position, right? Lying down. It's not a seated exercise. The fundamental zodiacal exercises that we give here come from ancient temples of mysteries, and therefore are not the exclusive patrimony of anyone. They don't belong to anyone, including to Weor. However, we must be grateful to the great guru Arnaldo Krumheller, Weor, who had collected and investigated them to make them known to us in his marvelous zodiacal course. During the course of Virgo, the zodiacal course of Virgo, you should vocalize the vowel U daily in order to develop the telepathic center of the solar plexus like this. During 1 hour daily. Practice. Sit in a comfortable chair, focus your mind on your intimus, on your inner being, and ask him to travel to the heart temple of the stars of Virgo, so that he may bring the gods of Virgo to your house, so that they may awaken your virginal powers and heal your belly. Be assured, beloved reader, that the sidereal gods will attend your call. Your intimus or inner being can enter and leave the body anytime he wants, and due to this, he is not enslaved in the body. He will really enter the sidereal temples. Do the necessary salutes, as I have taught you in the first lessons, and he will bring the sidereal gods to your side to prepare your body. The planets move, evolve, and progress within the consciousness. The sidereal temples are within the consciousness. The human being is a zodiac, and the zodiacal belt is within the consciousness. The doors of the zodiacal temples are all within the consciousness. The 10 Sephiroth of the Kabbalah are the solar system. The 7 inferior Sephirah are the 7 planets, and the crown of Keter Hokmah Binah are the triune spiritual sun. Those 10 Sephirah are within us, and we should learn to manipulate them. We should learn how to transfer ourselves to the different stars in order to know people's horoscope. Conversing with the sidereal gods, we will know our horoscope without the need for much touted arithmetic astrology. Arithmetic astrology was for the Black Age. The age of astrotheurgy has now arrived. We need to learn to handle the sparkle of the stars in order to heal the sick. One has to learn to work upon the earth from the sidereal temples. We have to learn how to work upon the earth from the 12 zodiacal signs. The age of Aquarius has arrived, and a new lineage reigns. The age of the Superman and the Superwoman has arrived. The earth is a small blue star. The inhabitants of other planets of the solar system, when born under the influence of our planet Earth, are mystics by nature and love sacrifice and altruism. They suffer much in their lives and feel much love for all that is alive. But the black magicians of other planets, who accept the negative vibrations of the blue star, called Earth, are extremely perverse and criminal. So he's talking about the inhabitants of other planets. When they're born under the influence of our planet Earth, they're mystics by nature, and they love sacrifice and altruism. So those are the two polarities of our Earth, right? Sacrifice and altruism on one side, mysticism with the flavor of sacrifice and altruism, which is related with the Christic force, the Christ, and love for all that is alive. But on the other side is that, black magic that we see so strongly in our leaders, in our economics, in most politicians on our planet, right? And that's the negative vibration of our planet, the extremely perverse and criminal. So we got a question. Who are the black magicians? The black magicians are anyone who advise us to waste the creative energy, to spill the cup of Hermes, to have an orgasm. They're those who take advantage of others, that don't have love for humanity, that don't want to share and take care of others. Can you imagine if our planet, instead of caring for money and for materialism, for power, for sensation, if our planet just cared to support each other, so that we go to a city and instead of being afraid of getting taken advantage of in the city, we would have the opposite problem, that everyone would try and help us. We could go to any city, we could go to any city on our planet, and all the people would want to help us because everybody cared for one another. That's how things should be. But unfortunately, because of the way we have misused the creative energy in ourselves, it has stimulated this opposite pole, which is a pole of selfishness, a pole of just wanting sensation, positive sensation, not understanding life, not understanding experience, not taking advantage of the experiences of life so that we can acquire wisdom. Instead, we try and extract money or power or sensation, right? delicious food or sex or pride, greed, lust, gluttony, envy, laziness, right? That's what we try to extract from every situation, because that's what we're taught to do. And on this note, I just want to say, don't forget that the movies, the television, the most music, what it's teaching us is something that is, I'm not going to say impossible, but practically impossible. They're teaching us that the ideal is in this way, that we can do all these things and have this. And they teach us to suffer. They teach us to acquire more karma, to, just be a person who doesn't listen to their own intuition. As he mentioned, when we learn how to listen to our intuition, listen to our hunches, then we acquire the food that we need, the shelter that we need, and we're not stressed out. We get what we need. I want to give you an example. I was looking at one point for a place to live, and so I went to an apartment building and I, visited and whatever, filled out the application, and then as I was leaving, I just had this hunch to go down a different street. I was just going to go back the way I came in, but I was like, no, let me go down the street. So I went down the street and there was a for rent sign. So I took a picture of it and then called them, and the house was for rent and it was a good price. It was, sort of an older house, but good location. Yeah. And all that needed to happen was just listen to that intuition, right? And how many times do we not listen to our intuition and later we say, I should have listened to it, right? So that's related with the heart, related with the O vowel. Oh, that will stimulate the faculty of intuition, which was Leo. And somebody says in the comments that it's hard sometimes to trust that. It's hard to trust it because we haven't developed that ability. We have to work up the courage to trust it and develop that relationship with our inner divinity of listening to those hunches. We hear them, we don't take action, and then we hear them and we say, well, let me try it this time. Let me take action on it. Let me see what happens. And sometimes it's as simple as, it says don't go down that road or do go down this road or whatever. And then it's things that you could never know before, logically, with reasoning, like that something's going to fall. I heard a story today about a person who almost got struck by a car, but had stayed back to talk to another person. And it doesn't have to be that dramatic all the time, but through developing that relationship with our inner divinity, through listening to those hunches and doing experiments, because obviously, if we're listening to our interior, if we're observing ourselves, then we know that the ego also is trying to whisper to us, just like in those cartoons, the way they used to show the angel and the demon or the devil on the shoulders of the character, right? So we have to learn to differentiate between those whispers that we hear internally. And that's part of the path. So the practice that he gave that we can do right now is to work with the Zodiacal or heart temple, we should say. So if you guys don't have any more questions or comments, let's jump into that practice. We'll do that real quick. So remember, Virgo is related with the celestial virgin, therefore Mother Nature, the nature itself, right? Before anything happens, and or we adulterate it or we manipulate it, right? Which means we need to meditate on the profound philosophies of Taoism and the idea of this cycle of nature, of the food chain and all that, the economy of nature, so to speak. We need to understand that. And that requires us, meditating on it, reflecting on it. It's related with the belly, which in woman is the womb. The womb is inside of the belly. And in both man and woman, that's where, when we eat, the food is digested, it's transformed. Yes, we chew it, we swallow it mixed with saliva, but in the belly is where it begins really that process of extracting, and that process continues in the intestines in the next stage after that. And Virgo is related with the planet Mercury, and Mercury is the mind. And he said that in Virgo, Mercury becomes reasoning. So here we see people that allow reasoning to dominate them. We need to learn to listen to our heart, right? To not let the mind, the animal mind, dominate us all the time. And it's a process. It requires that we have some faith in our inner divinity. And always at the beginning, this is a jump that we have to take. We have to take, as we say in English, a big jump. And, sometimes we fall down when we jump. Sometimes we hurt ourselves. So relax and learn through your own experience what to do by listening. And if you fall down, then say, well, did I listen to the right thing, or did I do the wrong action? Did I, was it a problem of me listening, or was it a problem of me acting? What was it? As Huiracocha told us at the very beginning, we need to investigate and see what we can do to change, to become different, to fix our faults. Because this whole system that we're studying, this Gnostic, Rosicrucian, system, this esoteric Christianity, this Buddhist Christianity, whatever you want to call it, this mixture of systems, or mixture is not the right word, but the clarification or crystallization. No, maybe clarification is the best of these systems. Allows us to understand so many different religions, so many different teachings, and that ultimately the problem is not that we don't have what we need and that we need to go get it somewhere else. The problem is that we need to fix ourselves, and no one can do that but somebody else. Sure, you can pay someone to give you a bunch of training so that you can develop discipline, but do you need to pay them to do that, or can you just develop the discipline by working on yourself? We need that discipline. We need that willpower in order to become different, to stop being black magicians, to start becoming white magicians, right? Which doesn't have anything to do with color of the skin. It has to do with light and darkness. And so the mind, the animal mind, related with Mercury, because Mercury corresponds to the mind, is something that is very often used by the ego to deviate us, to give us concepts. And with those concepts, we lose our connection with the dynamic nature of reality. Somebody says through shadow work. So depends on what people mean when they say shadow work. We need to work with what's called in Gnosis the dark side of the moon. That is the dark side of our psychological moon, the side of the moon that we don't see. That is the unconscious, the side or aspect of our consciousness, which is in unconscious, subconscious, infraconscious, whatever you want to call it. The aspect that we can't see. Maybe others can see it, but we can't see it. And in order to do that, there's practices, there's mantras, But we need to transmute the creative energy, because in that is that light, that spark of light that we need. And we need light inside the darkness, which of course reminds us of that quote from the book of John in the New Testament of the Bible. So there's another question. Is the light and dark one, or are they separate? Asking because of the concept of non-duality. Okay, thanks for that clarification. So light and darkness exist because of each other. There couldn't be light without darkness. There couldn't be darkness without light. Right? So they're separate. They're different. But they're one in the sense that they define each other. That they don't exist without each other. And there's the visible light, and then there's invisible light. Like, for example, we talk about the light that we can see with our physical eyes, but there's also light which is off the spectrum of visible light that we can't see with our eyes. Likewise, there's aspects that we can see because light corresponds to consciousness and darkness corresponds to unconsciousness. So there's things that we can comprehend. There's things we can see with the consciousness that we can't see with unconsciousness. And that's why we need to awaken our consciousness so that we can see aspects of ourselves. And then immediately, I can recognize in others what I see in myself. That is, I can tell if I've worked on my anger or my laziness or whatever, that another person is struggling with that as well. And so then we don't have, we're not angry with them. We have compassion for them, and we try and help them work through it, if that's our role in that particular situation, right? We don't just get mad with them and act out, fortifying another ego. But we say, oh, I see. I know what that is. I had that before too, or I still have that and I'm still working on it. Let me see if I can help, or let me offer a solution to them. So they're separate, but they also define each other. So in their source, their origin, they come from the same. And our goal is to convert darkness into light. But at some point, right, if that happens, then there'll be neither light nor darkness as we know them now. There'll be something else. And maybe we don't have a name for that yet. So, in any case, let's jump into the practice today. If you haven't already, please prepare yourself. Grab water. We're not gonna do you that we did last time. We'll just do the mantra Aum 4 times that goes with this practice. But we want to find a comfortable chair. And we want to find a comfortable position. Want to close our eyes and remove the thoughts from the mind and make ourselves a little bit drowsy. How do we do that? Well, one of the things that becomes useful, not only for the longevity of your physical body, but also for the quality of sleep that you get, is to learn to exercise your body every day. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 10 minutes. Eventually, you can build yourself up to where it's multiple hours. And sometimes we have the advantage that our work forces us to do that. But if we have a sedentary job or lifestyle, then it's important to take the initiative to do the exercise for ourselves. Go for a walk. We can start with that, walking. You walk 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. Something to move the energy in the body, move the blood, move the chi, as they say in the East, the prana. Something to move, and then something to strengthen it a little bit. And what you'll find is many of the people that live very, very old, to their 90s, 100 and beyond, they do something like that every day. So if you have trouble feeling drowsy at will, then I would say work on exercise. Exhaust yourself a little bit more. Do more to whether it's exercise or whatever it is, do more to make the physical body work, to use your arms and your legs, or whatever you can, your abs, anything. Work with what you got. Just flex the muscles and relax them. So, and then when you sit down to meditate, it becomes very easy because you're drowsy already. You're forcing yourself to work through things, and then when you sit down, you become sleepy quickly. So let's now direct our attention to our interior, towards our internal master, the inner being or intimus. And we're going to say the following prayer. You just repeat after me. I'll do it a little bit at a time. My Father, you who are me myself, you who are my true being, I beg you to transport yourself to the heart temples of the stars of Virgo in order to bring the principal hierarchies of that constellation, the gods of Virgo, to this humble place so that they may awaken my virginal powers and give me a special treatment to my belly. Now we cross the arms right over left, making an X with the hands at the level of the shoulders. The X is over about the level of the heart. We bow to the right, Jakin. Bow to the left, Boaz. Come back to the center, and we continue to pray. My Father, take the 7 sacred steps within towards the interior of the temple and kneel down at the feet of the principal genie of Virgo, begging him to send the principal hierarchies of Virgo to awaken my virginal powers and to heal my belly. We can put the arms down, and we're going to do the mantra Aum 4 times. Now let's just sit quietly for a few moments. Let's take a couple breaths. Let's bring ourselves back, opening our eyes whenever we feel ready. So we want to open it up for questions or comments if you have any. And we want to invite you to next week's class. We'll continue studying Virgo next Thursday. Well, Thursday in the northern hemisphere of the Americas. Doesn't look like there's any more questions or comments at this time, so we'll end it there. Oh, there's a comment that says that was nice. Glad you liked it. If you guys have any questions and we're not live, you can always email us at gnosticstudies@gmail.com or leave a comment on the video and we'll do our best to respond as soon as possible. In the meantime, until next week, we want to wish you the best in your esoteric work. Until then.